And it
Okay, let's go ahead, bring to order this meeting of Templeton Community Services District Board of Directors. Today is July 15, 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Directors Bardonish,
Here.
Logan,
here,
Mortensen,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
and Tyra. Here.
All five directors are here. We have a quorum. Please stand for pledge allegiance. I
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, please have a seat. Order of business. Do any of the board members would like to change the order of business? Great, thank you. All right, we're gonna go ahead to special reports and presentation. Before I get started on that, I see a few faces here that I want to thank. We have our chief, Fire Chief Peterson, our captains, Captain Baker, Captain Goldblum, and Captain Walls, for the hard work and efforts that you guys put in. I think probably you guys were on call about 120 hours or so, maybe even more. You were there and you really cared about our community and all the effort that you put in. Obviously, we had a great team with you, all the fire engineers and all the other firefighters. So thank you so much. I know it was difficult to see the, Templeton Feed and Grain burn down, but I truly believe that you guys saved downtown Templeton. So I appreciate it. And we're really happy that we have a fire department that could come to our rescue as you guys did. So appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start with our presentations. We're gonna have from San Luis Obispo County Sheriff, Commander. I believe you are gonna give us an update as well as what happened during that event, or are you just doing your normal presentation?
I'm gonna do my normal, but I can also give you guys a debrief of just the work in general.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Commander.
So the stats for last month, we had 6 calls for service for assault and battery, 6 reports were taken. There were 14 calls for service for disturbances, no reports were taken, 3 calls for burglary, 1 report was taken, 3 calls for thefts, 2 reports were taken. 2 calls for vandalism, 2 reports taken, 4 calls for trespassing, no reports taken, 2 calls for scams, and 1 report was taken. 14 calls for suspicious circumstances, no reports were taken in that instance. And as far as the 4th of July, was a very, very busy night. We deployed maximum staffing countywide. Meaning all the other stations for the sheriff's office as well. And San Miguel proved to be very, very busy for us. In general, for the north area that I oversee, the dispatch center was inundated with a lot of fireworks calls. So through those, we also had to triage and make sure we were responding to the priority calls, threats to life, 911 emergency calls, and trying to address these firework calls along the way. I can tell you that I was out there myself patrolling, and we would turn a corner and people would just run from the aerial fireworks that they were lighting. And at that point it's abandoned property, right, Chief? So we just had to get out of our unit and collect them, and put them in the back of our unit and turn them over, because I didn't want anything like that, going off in my unit. But I think it was uncharacteristically busy. I can't say that I was here last year, but I didn't expect it to be as busy as it actually was. But again, prioritizing in between all the other calls that were just as important, fireworks, aerial fireworks certainly are a threat to property as well. But again, trying to pay attention to the ones that had a little more specific information than just, you know, aerial fireworks type calls. And then, of course, then the feed store fire happened and we deployed out here to make sure that, at least a perimeter containment was established so that no one else was in danger or anything like that. That's pretty much it.
Thank you very much. And I also wanna invite you ahead of time. I think in about 6 weeks or so, we're gonna have a conversation about what happened as a board and as a community. And definitely we want the sheriff to be there to to look at enforcement and what we could do, because you're right, I think things are getting a little bit worse. And I think we need to sit down as a community and talk about what's going on, what we need to do, what the next steps should be. So I definitely hope that you'll be able to make it to that meeting. I think it's on September 2nd. We're planning for that. So thank you again. Any questions for the sheriff? Public, any questions for the sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Oh, couple of questions.
Was anyone, caught or, was anyone being pursued or anything?
For the feed store here, sir?
Yes, exactly.
So yes, detectives have been working on this alongside with fire. Some people of interest have been identified. That said, they still have some additional leads to follow up on. Once they conclude that, the sheriff's office will be putting out a press release in regards to the investigation. But they have identified some individuals.
Thanks.
Sir?
Yeah, exactly how many officers or deputies did you have on patrol in the North County that night?
In the North County, there would have been 8 for the most part, and then at one point we had 10 when the night shift came on.
Solo units or double units?
Double units, yes, sir. Well, I'm talking about swing shift. On day shift, I had also 8, because we had to, and that's not a normal staffing. That was to provide additional staffing for the Templeton parade.
Okay.
Right.
4th of July evening in Templeton?
Yeah, so that was 8, and then 10.
Specifically in Templeton or?
No, oh, no,
San
sir,
Miguel?
no. I have to cover San Miguel, I have to cover Creston, I have to cover Shandon, Santa Margarita.
So
And,
you're-
and again, in between triaging like these calls.
So you're thin, basically.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks,
Yes,
Dennis.
sir.
First of all, thank you for what you and your team have done.
No problem. Thank you for your support.
You notice in the department, if there were uneven or differences in different communities, amount of fireworks being sent off? You mentioned North County, but what about South County? Because I know there was a focus down there as well.
Yes, sir. So, South County, so each station has their own area commander, right? So every single, commander for each station, was at their respective station, and they were also busy in South County, and, our Central Coast is always demanding, having been a supervisor there before. You know, it attracts a large population, therefore a lot of our resources. So for example, you know, I have my staffing, right? But depending on their specialty, being a bike patrol person or an off-road vehicle person, these resources, we're attempting to balance them out at all stations. But each station was equally busy. Historically, the Central Coast also is very demanding just because of the amount of people that go for the fireworks show in Cayucas late at night.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions from the public? Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, next is briefing for Templeton Feed and Grain Fire. We'll have Chief Peterson come up. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. I want to echo what the board president said with regards to thanking our folks. They did a tremendous job over that 5-day period, and it was a very long strenuous 5-day period that really taxed our staffing and the staffing and endurance of everybody on the department. We had so many people step up and help us. And with the president's indulgence, I'm gonna take a little liberty here and speak to one specifically. We had a lot of community volunteers come in, but one specifically who happens to be, and she's gonna kill me tonight because she doesn't know this is coming, is one of our captain's wives who really stepped up and from a logistical standpoint, helped us out significantly. And so with that being said, Joanne, if you could come up here for a minute. So with that being said, I've got a certificate of recognition for Joanne Wall, and it reads, "This certificate is proudly presented to Joanne Wall for outstanding service and unwavering support to the Templeton Fire and Emergency Services during the Templeton Feed and Grain Fire Incident. By ensuring that our firefighters' logistical needs were met, Joanne Wall played a crucial role in supporting our operational effectiveness and well-being of our crews. Templeton Feed and Grain Fire, July 4th, 2025. Incident provided essential logistic support by keeping firefighters fed and supplied during the Templeton Feed and Grain Fire. Through these actions, Joanne Wall has demonstrated exceptional community spirit, generosity, and commitment to the safety and success of our emergency response efforts, embodying the highest values and selfless attributes of the Templeton Fire and Emergency Services."
Yes, I mean, I have to say, every time I went on the scene, I saw Ron out there running from, running either from or to Templeton Market. So thank you so much. And also please thank Abby on our behalf from Templeton Market for doing such a wonderful job of providing food for our firefighters. So thank you.
And again, like I said, there were so many people and so many thank yous out there. I'm gonna try and get around to all of them. From our neighboring agencies, our North and South Chief, Casey Bryson from Atascadero, Jonathan Stornetta from Paso Robles, who came down and assisted me after I had been there for 24 hours and gave me some relief. Just can't thank them enough for that type of support. Getting on to a little bit with regards to the Feed and Grain Fire. Just if you can give me a brief moment here. Incident overview. The Templeton Feed and Grain Fire, the feed and grain itself is about 30,000 square feet. It's a large commercial building. It's made out of wood and obviously a lot of flammables, as you'll see in my presentation. It's a historical landmark for our community. Everybody knows that. It's on the front of our community emblem. It's an icon for the community. It's on our department patches. It's on our vehicles. And so when that went up in flames, yeah, there was a lot of emotions that took place with regards to that fire, specifically trying to limit the damage to a minimal impact. Unfortunately, with the head start that fire got, it was pretty destructive. Fireground resources. The fire was fought primarily with 3 ladder trucks. For aerial master stream and vertical access. If you understand fire, we try to get at the base of the fire. That's how we're gonna get it out. That was a very challenging fire because of the silo bins and the depth of the silo bins and actually being able to get water down the silo bins. It was just almost an impossible task from the perspective that the fire was deep in each one of those bins and spreading. And we didn't have ladder trucks high enough to get a downward angle into each one of those bins. Although I know it's probably looked like it at times, like we made a swimming pool out of each one of those bins by the amount of water we put on that fire. There were areas where the fire just was, I'm sorry, where the water was just not penetrating to get to the fire. That's what made it so difficult. We had 3 Type 1 engines. Those were all flowing water at about 1,000 gallons a minute from their deck guns. Again, launching water upwards and trying to loft them into the bins. We had 3 additional Type 1 engines, usually after I struck what was called a second alarm, and I'll show you that here in the presentation. We had 4 Type 3 engines that helped us with our riverbed threat because of the amount of embers that were being broadcasted off the fire. That was significant because if we had a vegetation fire in combination with this, we were going to be stretched extremely thin. We were stretched extremely thin, and that would have just made it worse. That would have compounded the problem significantly. So having those resources available was huge. Breathing support. We had breathing support 62 come up from the Pismo Beach area. Initially, when we arrived on scene, the smoke was banking above, but then banked down on our west end of the fire, which created a very difficult situation for our personnel, where all of them had to breathing apparatus for a period of time because of the smoke conditions on the ground. So that caused us to order the breathing support unit, which refills our air bottles. We had our hazmat rig out. Our hazmat rig, we had some discoloration of water runoff coming out of the feed and grain. We tested that, made sure we were good. We got a clean bill of health environmentally. So that was all a real benefit to be able to get that clean bill of health environmentally. Templeton Fire staffing. So due to the July 4th enhanced staffing, we were able to throw a lot of resources at that fire from the get-go, and even before any mutual aid resources got here. And I'll kind of explain it more in the presentation, but we had resources inside and actually had water on that fire within 2 minutes of on scene time, within 4 minutes of getting dispatched. If you understand anything about the fire service, that's an incredible response time to put water on the fire within 4 minutes. So I want to really emphasize that. We had 4 firefighters on our Type 1 engine. We had 4 firefighters on our Type 3 engine, and we had 2 firefighters on our UTV. So we had a total of 10 personnel, our personnel on scene. If we wouldn't have had that, it's my opinion that we would have had some other associated casualties with regards to structures. We were able to slow it down enough, to hold it enough, to get the mutual aid resources in that we needed to get at that point in time because of that enhanced staffing that we had that night. It did allow us to that staffing, it did allow us to have an aggressive interior attack. Probably a little longer than I was comfortable with. But we were inside interior on that storeroom. One crew went in with what we call a 2.5-inch line, large diameter nozzle, and we're trying to extinguish the fire at that lowest level. They were in there for probably 10 minutes before we pulled everybody back out when we witnessed the fire actually peeking out the upper roof of the silos. At that point, it became what we call a defensive fire. Let's see. Again, with our increased staffing, we were able to deploy several hose lines that if we would have had 2-person staffing, it wouldn't have happened. We would have had significant losses. Able to establish water supplies quicker, size up quicker. It allowed our captains to free up to do the incident or the incident command role. And then one of my captains, Captain Goldblum, wound up becoming my operations section, which was vitally important until I got a CAL FIRE battalion chief there. And then I had to assign him back to his engine. The ability to rotate crews, I mean, that was huge, having that additional personnel. People understand when you're running a race, you get fatigued. The same thing happens when you're working that hard on a fire, you get fatigued and you have to rehab people. So that was important to have enough people there to be able to do that. Again, with only 2-person staffing, I just can't emphasize enough how this outcome would have changed. So I just want to emphasize on that. The conclusion basically is the incident really demonstrates the importance of that staffing that night. If we wouldn't have had it that night, again, I think the entire downtown corridor could have seen a more catastrophic outcome. Really quick, just numbers. Again, 3 ladder trucks, 5 Type 1 engines, 4 Type 3 engines, our UTV, which is that all-terrain vehicle that we just received through donations. 1 chief, myself, 2 battalion chiefs, an ambulance, our breathing support unit from 62, and our hazmat rig. With that, we can start the presentation. Okay, so on February 4th at 22:57, after some after some investigation and review of security footage from local businesses, it was determined that an illegal firework was intentionally thrown on the lower roof of the Templeton Feed and Grain. At about 23:07, 7195 was dispatched to alarms ringing at 405 South Main Street, which is the Templeton Feed and Grain. That's how the initial call came in. It was just a fire alarm. Now, I know most of the board knows, but maybe some of the audience doesn't know. We were frequently getting a lot of fire alarms at the Feed and Grain. And in the past, during 4th of July, because of the smoke production from the fireworks, we have gotten smoke alarms, fire alarms at the Feed and Grain. Our folks didn't take that for granted. They responded like it was the real thing. They got around the corner, and unfortunately, this time it was the real thing. So their response is kudos to them, because they wound up not going, oh, just another alarm. They reacted quickly and effectively. Engine 7195 arrived at 2309 and saw smoke and a small fire on the lower roof, which is that feed and bag storage area for anybody who's been inside the Feed and Grain. That's a fairly large area, and they store a lot of feed, hay, a variety of things, and apparently raccoons, as we saw on one of the surveillance videos. At 2310, 7195 called for a commercial structure fire dispatch. And at 2311, they started flowing water on that lower roof on that fire and deployed a 2.5-inch line into the storage area. This is where the actual fireworks is thrown from roughly the location where the X is up onto the roof, and that's where it detonated, on that lower roof. That was at 10:57, and this is all confirmed by surveillance video footage. This is the actual, if I click it again, it'll play it, right? Okay, so you will be able to see the actual firework being thrown. There it is. Lands on the roof and detonates. Larger detonation.
Wow.
Okay. That was the initial cause of the fire. Now, from that perspective, keep in mind, I have another perspective of the surveillance camera inside the storage area of the Feed and Grain. And that's this one, which looks directly down. That camera must have been placed almost directly above where that, illegal firework detonated. Sorry, a couple of these videos are a little bit longer. Try, there it goes. So you immediately see in the lower right-hand corner, the fire ignited. Okay, at that point, you'll start to see rapid growth. It's hay bales, it's paper bags filled with grain, and a variety of other very flammable items that are stored in there. This is our response. We have had some people indicate that we did not have a quick response, that we were delayed, that we didn't get water on the fire in a timely manner. This video within itself discounts all of that. So this is the same time frame that we're talking about. And again, you'll have to excuse me, this is about a 2.5-minute video. I'd like to just let it play, and you will see the actual response of the engine. In the bottom left, or I'm sorry, about center screen, just past the little trailer there on the left is our hydrant. You'll see our folks catch that hydrant. And from this, you can see the glow up on the roof right there. That is the actual fire. Okay, so you can see the fire burning in the middle of the roof right there. The engine goes by. At this point, I'm sure Captain Goldblum had some interesting things going through his mind. At this point, they're doing the size up, which we do on every single fire. They're giving the information to our dispatch center. At this point, Captain Goldblum called for a commercial response because we actually had an active fire. And the commercial response was being dispatched, which would have activated my radio and the associated mutual aid agencies that help us out with that, Paso, Atascadero, CAL FIRE. So you'll see them come around the corner here in a minute. And then I'd like to let this play until you see water hit the fire. And it's about 2 minutes, just a little bit over. If you have any questions at this point, so we're gonna have awkward silence, that's fine too.
That explosion on the roof burn a hole to where the
It
fire went
penetrated
down?
through the actual middle, yes.
Was it launched onto the roof somehow
It
or
was thrown,
thrown?
Yeah.
Wow.
What's the material on the roof that was
just corrugated metal.
poured?
So you can see our folks, let's see, this has got a laser. Yeah, you can see our folks right here. Sorry, right here. And they're hooking that hydrant. And that hydrant goes over to the engine. And then in a minute, you will actually see, from the engine right here, water broadcasting up onto the fire itself. Concurrently, because of our staffing that night, they were taking a 2.5 line interior into that large barn door that they keep open into that storage area. So 2 things were actually 3 things were happening all at the same time, and I'm sure a lot more than that. Coming up on about 2 minutes. and there you'll see the water starting to flow. Yep, okay, right up here. The fire initially dampens and our crews inside, chime in guys, probably saw a dampening and the smoke spreading out a little bit. At that point, what we later found out is on the backside of that storage area is what Mr. German referred to as an alley. An alley is a structure that's kind of like a bench or a shelf that sits in front of where the silos are. And the fire got in around that alley and behind the alley, in between the alley and the silos. So when we were coming in and hitting that area in that back corner with water, we weren't getting behind that alley. And so that allowed it to get further up into the silos. Okay, this one is just a quick rundown of some numbers here of the units. Not all the units, but the main units that were on the fire and their dispatch times. I won't go over all of them, but I will go over the main one here, which is engine 7195, our engine. They were dispatched at 2307, en route at 2308, on scene at 2309, and had water on the fire in 2311. Okay, pretty quick, pretty effective response. 4 minutes. This was our deployment, our resource deployment. There's a lot of stuff going on here, so I'm gonna try and explain it just really briefly. Engine 7195, the initial engine right here. That's where you saw them out in front of Hewitt's Hardware and basically broadcasting up onto the roof where the explosion took place. The next engine in was 7160. They helped deploy all of the hoses, the extra hoses, all the other ancillary stuff that needed to be done on engine 7195 to be able to assist them to get 2 lines, if not 3 lines, out onto the ground to start extinguishing the fire. At that point, engine 30 arrived, and then I arrived on scene after them. Once I was on scene, I took command from Captain Goldblum, assigned him operations. At that point, the guys had been interior, maybe a few minutes. We let that go on for a little while. The second we saw that it was through the roof out the silos, pulled everybody out, and I called for what was called a second alarm. That gave us 2 more structure engines and 1 more ladder truck. Compliments to Captain Goldblum. He halted a Tascadero's engine and asked for their ladder truck. So we got initially, where we typically only get 1 ladder truck, we got 2 coming. So we halted the 1 engine, got their ladder truck in place of it, and that gave us 2 ladder trucks within the first 20 minutes. And then we got a 3rd one with Slow City's truck. Instead of going through all of these, I'll just kind of recap here. So truck 2 from Slow City was spraying here. Atascadero's truck 7545 here. And back here we placed Paso Robles' truck, and they were all elevated streams. The shortest being San Luis City's at 75 foot, but both Paso and Atascadero's truck are 105 foot collectively. So even with that height and reach, those engines or those trucks put out 1,250 gallons a minute. We were flowing all 3 trucks plus engine 7195, engine 30, and the San Miguel engine 8696 on the fire for 4 hours minimum. And we were not getting effective extinguishment. That's how hot and intense that fire was. Down here, what we were worried about, well, and early on, what I was concerned about was what was called ember cast. And we had large embers that were landing on these roofs over here. Initially, when I got on scene, these businesses across the street right here, they were starting to, what we refer to as off-gas. Their facades in front were heating up to where they were kind of starting to off-gas and smoke a little bit. That means they were getting close to their ignition temperature. At that point, Engine 30 did a great job by staging right here and broadcasting water here. And then we got, again, I'll back up a little bit, but initially Passo's truck was here before San Luis City's got here. And we wound up moving them down here and put San Luis City's truck here. We had cooled the fire down enough to eliminate the threat of these businesses starting to take off. However, this threat was not eliminated, and that's why we put a CAL FIRE Engine 52 up on this roof with hose lines, and they were taking care of any embers that landed on any of these roofs, including our AT&T building here. Back here, we saw a significant threat to the wildland and the riverbed because we had significant embers landing back there. So our UTV plus these three Type 3 engines were all positioned back there taking care of that threat. Any questions on any of this? Okay. This is a video from, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not sure how long I was at scene when I took this, but it was a little while into it. And this is kind of what we're dealing with. A few more photos of the fire that evening from a variety of vantage points. Again, having a Atascadero's platform here on that, the jack side, what we call our delta side, the D side of the structure. And then Paso Robles over here initially, and then fronting Main Street with our engine and Engine 30, that really took the frontward heat out of the fire. Here's another, a lot of people hadn't seen this, so I wanted to share this with you. This is what we were dealing with on the backside of the structure. Anybody who's ever seen a grain fire, if you've seen grain explosions, this is what it looks like. This is what our folks on the backside of the structure were dealing with. What happens is the grain pours out, it goes into a dust form and ignites and creates these dust explosions. This is a 1-minute video, but it went on for quite a while. And you can see the water from the right-hand side. Okay, at that point, I think I'm gonna turn it over to Justin. He's gonna talk about the water system. Again, I really want to thank Justin and our general manager. Throughout the evening, our communication was phenomenal. And Justin was communicating to me out throughout the night of the incident, how much water we were using, our demands, those types of things. I made some very minor adjustments that were not effective anyways with regards to where we were at in the fire, and was able to shut down some flow that really wasn't being effective anymore because we had our ladder trucks up. And it allowed us to reduce some flow, but I think I'm fairly safe in saying we were never in any type of critical water shortage issue at all. We had plenty of water to fight this fire.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, board. Justin Black. I'll be going over our water system. And I know there's a question, comment section at the end of this presentation, but if you have any questions throughout, please go ahead and ask those questions. As Chief Peterson just mentioned, really appreciative, nothing but gratitude for the team, internal, external, coming together to be successful through this event, as tragic as it is. So our water system overview, try and be brief through this section, but just wanted to provide some information about some of the water system characteristics, storage and capacities that we have. We have 4 storage tanks in our water distribution system, 3 of which are at the end of Lincoln and 1 that's out at Los Tablas. You know, collectively, there's approximately 2.7 million gallons worth of storage. Those tanks were constructed between 1985 and approximately 2005. And they're at different elevations, and I'm probably gonna note this later, but Osmond, out at Los Tablas, for instance, it's at a lower elevation, and it actually has more capacity, more storage is available at that location. As the well levels drop at our Lincoln site, there's actually more water out at Osmond helping us out on the west end. So there is just one pressure zone throughout Templeton CSD's water system. There are more complicated systems out there. City of Paso Robles, we have neighbors that have more complicated systems. Ours is just one pressure zone. And it ranges in pressures depending on where you're at, because of that, from 25 to 110 PSI. Let's see if I can. Okay, so in operating the water system, TCSD operators utilize a SCADA system, supervisory control and data acquisition system. And it collects information, trends, controls, alarms in real time going on throughout the wastewater collection system and water distribution system. And so this is a overview with this slide attempts to show is a overview of the fire event, looking at the storage capacity from the moment that we started our firefighting efforts through tank, filling the tank, satisfying the tank level. One of the most profound things I wanted to talk about with this slide is that within less than 24 hours of our firefighting measures, we were able to satisfy and fill our tank. And so it was swift. You know, in less than 1 day, we were able to satisfy our tanks and our wells were able to rest and recover. So it may be hard to see, but our wells kicked on approximately at 11:30 p.m. On July 4th. And you'll note then that's really at that 11:30 p.m. Let's see if I can set. So right here at that 11:30 p.m. Is when the wells kicked on. All wells kicked on. All of our available active wells began to pump. You'll also note that then our lowest point in storage was at 7:30 a.m. Tanks satisfying at roughly 10:15 approximately. Those peaks and valleys to the left and to the right of the fire event are what you would consider our normal operating range parameters for wells and tanks. So, and maybe that's more clearly to see to the right, on the right-hand side of that slide. that's what you would typically see, pumps, wells, satisfying the tanks, and then our customer, our community using, you know, there's that demand, drawing it down, and then they kick back on, wells satisfy again, and so on and so forth. So, the SCADA system, although you may see, and I may reference tank levels noted in the SCADA system, I want to make sure that everybody understands that the SCADA system is reflecting a depth that is about 2.5 feet short of what's actually at the tanks. And that's because the transducer, the leveling instruments that are at the tanks are positioned so that they're a couple of feet off of the bottom of those tanks. So if you see at the lowest point, 7:30 a.m., it's noted for approximately 7:30 a.m. That it was eight or so feet deep. So that's roughly about 10.5, towards 10.5, 11 feet deep up at the tanks physically. So again, using this SCADA system as a means to communicate, you have that drawdown period on the left-hand side of your slide here. And so tanks begin to lower 10:30 p.m. Chief Peterson called me right away, and we were able to monitor the system. We had staff go out and fire up, make sure that all of our wells were operating, but also turn them up so they were producing as much water as possible.
I think my comment, Justin, was turn on all the wells and turn them on now.
The truth, isn't it the truth? You know, so our staff went out right away and checking, monitoring our wells. We were flowing approximately 2,250 gallons per minute out of our collective well field. And so we made sure that all of our irrigation at our parks and other locations, anything in our control, were off at this time, so we wouldn't further compound issues as the firefighting efforts continued. So at this time, we were also putting together public outreach messaging as well, proactive in trying to encourage and make sure we had resources available for the firefighting efforts. And so those public outreach efforts were starting to be put together. Simultaneously, Paso Templeton Interconnect, and I'll explain that a little bit in more detail here in a moment, but the idea is connecting Paso Robles' distribution system, water distribution system, with Templeton's. First time.
Can you hold on for 1 second? I want to, because the chief mentioned that we were never close to running out of water. But around 5 a.m. on the 5th, you can see that's kind of, we have this trajectory, even though the wells are running, we're losing volume. Even at the lowest point, we have more than 1 million gallons of water. My concern was not so much about immediately running out of water for the fire, but running out of water to maintain pressure in the system, particularly on the west side of town where we have lower pressures. And so that's why some of these steps that are being addressed now were taken to ensure that, take steps to ensure that we don't run out of water pressure, don't depressurize the system and create other public health problems within the community. So it wasn't, we were not close to running out of water. We were on a downward path as far as capacity, and we know when the tank levels reach a certain point, we could run out of the pressure in the system, particularly in the higher elevation areas, could fall to a level that can cause some health and safety risks to other parts of the community, not related to the fire.
And you'll see that on a slide coming up here is recovery, and we'll explain how our system started to recover in that slide. This interconnection setup So reaching out to the city of Paso Robles. 5:30 a.m., July 5th. We were able to get a hold of them. It's tough. It's a holiday weekend. A lot of people are out of town. But we were able to connect. We've got good relationships with our neighbors. And so we got the help that we needed. Again, just trying to ensure that we have available resources to fight fire and for the public's consumption as well. So in that 46 West off-ramp area, we were able to set up between Arco Station and Delta RV, a pump, a high-pressure pump. Paso was able to deploy and connect with 4.5-inch fire hose. 4-inch fire hose feeding from their dead end there at the Arco gas station into this high-pressure bypass pump, running 400 feet down the line and then connecting into our dead end hydrant, kind of where the old Wayne's Tires was, Delta RV. And so we pressurized, the hoses. This, the bypass pump is set up with check valves and fired it up and started it up. And we ran initially around 550 gallons. And we were checking constantly with the pressure of our system because we don't want to do anything. We don't want to damage. This was the first time anything like this had been performed. So we wanted to ensure nothing adverse happened to our infrastructure as well. So we ended up increasing it all the way up to 675 gallons per minute, and staying in constant contact with the chief and captains and general manager Jeff Briltz, letting everybody know where we were at and that the interconnection was now fully operational. That public notice language wanted to clarify what the district had, what we had drafted and what we had sent out to Templeton water customers. Due to a large fire on Main Street, we are requesting you not use water for irrigation and take steps to reduce indoor water use as well, including showers, laundry, cleaning today, Saturday, July 5th. This is to ensure we have sufficient water for putting out the fire. The reverse 911 messaging language came out as Templeton residents. The Templeton Fire Department is asking customers of Templeton Community Service District to limit indoor water use and do not water at all outdoors at this time. For more information, please. And I believe there was a link, some more information as well. There may have been other messages at this time that were available and drafted though by others. And so just wanted to make sure everybody knew what we had sent out. Again, a proactive measure to ensure resources were available in fighting fire. And I would like to thank the community for their efforts in conservation during this time. We saw it on so I also work in wastewater, the other kind of water. And so we saw it in our SCADA system. We saw the flows the next day, what was coming in, and people were conserving. I imagine, I can't see it. I can't see it in the SCADA system, but we assume there was a great deal of conservation on irrigation, on outdoor use, even much more than what we saw in the indoor into our wastewater treatment system. So I wanted to thank the public, the community for their efforts. Really appreciate it.
Justin, I just want to note something here. Our water code doesn't anticipate these sorts of emergency measures or immediate measures. And so I reviewed our water code early that morning to it provides, we have a water shortage contingency plan, but it's not geared for these, again, immediate emergent kind of issues. And so the language that we chose was not necessarily something that was enforceable. I mean, under our water code, we would have to provide residents 3 days notice before a new level of conservation hits. We obviously that wasn't gonna do us any good. So it was a request, it was not necessarily an enforceable request. This information went out about 10 minutes to 7 AM on the 5th, and before we knew if the Paso Connect was taking place. That was already underway, in terms of at least investigating, that opportunity, but it wasn't confirmed yet. So we took the steps to try to reduce water usage, and it coincidentally, the water use in the fire was beginning to decline during that time as well. And that's why you see on the chart that there's a slowdown of the decline of the tank levels.
And that's what you'll see here in this next slide. So the recovery, so our water system recovery, we had a few things going our way here as the sun was kind of breaking. Paso Templeton Water Distribution Interconnect deployment and operations were up and running, 675 gallons a minute. So then the TCSD wells plus the Paso Robles through that pump was approximately flowing at 2,925 gallons a minute. As Chief Peterson mentioned a moment ago, there was a change in water usage. And that could have been around 3:45 in the morning, somewhere around there where you messaged me about using less water and
Yeah, so what we had done at that point, it was about 3:30 AM. We started shutting down the master streams, or what we call our deck guns, from our Type 1 engines, and just strictly went to the aerial apparatus. So the ladder trucks only were flowing. That reduced about 3,000 gallons a minute right there. Because of the effectiveness, we had kind of dampened the fire down, and now it was just a kind of a maintaining it in check. I'll have a couple more items to share with you, but every time we shut off a ladder truck, and several times throughout that night, when we would take a ladder truck offline and we had to go fuel it up at the gas or the fuel station, because they were pumping so long, they were running out of fuel. So we had to rotate them in and out to go refuel, come back online. Every time I took one of those ladder trucks out of service and stopped flowing it, the fire would just rear back up.
well, so we started to recover. As I mentioned before, I believe approximately 7:30 AM was our low point. But we start to build, and we start to recover in our tanks with all of those elements in play. Staff also began to immediately take residual, making sure that we have sufficient disinfection throughout the distribution system, and pressure tests throughout the distribution system to make sure we have adequate pressure, and we have chlorine disinfection residual throughout the distribution system. And so I was surprised. Oftentimes I had been told, and there's less pressure on the west side, but we were able, it was affected in a minimal sort of way. If we were able, on a normal day, if we had 45 pounds of pressure on the west side, we were still running at 40 pounds of pressure on the west side during this event. Not to say that there aren't vulnerabilities, and the lowering of the tanks may cause issues with pressure in certain locations, but we were testing residuals and pressures throughout. Moving on to this next slide, wanted to talk about future plans. And so immediately as we engaged with with Paso. Paso was engaging and talking about bolstering our resiliencies on both sides, on both water distribution systems. We had to use a high pressure pump, and pump Paso water into Templeton because our pressure is so high at that location. It would be easier, in other words, to just connect those fire hydrants with a hose and open up the hydrants and flow Templeton water to Paso if they need it. And so Paso and Templeton will be working right now, in the here and now, to identify opportunities for us to bolster our resiliency to matters in fighting and in dealing with events like this. And I wanted just to point out some, you know, since the weekend of the 4th, the distribution supervisor for Paso stopped by my office on last Wednesday afternoon. He opened up his system, we opened up ours, and talked about 4 locations to start with. Some of them are easier to connect. You'll note that the Ramada Drive, 600 to 1200 gallons per minute at the top of your slide. That is the interconnection that we performed this July 5th. We understand now that as we have one pressure zone and it's an open system, there may have been an ability to go beyond 675. We would have had to monitor the pressure in our distribution system, but it's possible it could go up to 1200 gallons a minute. Likewise, the Fortini spot there that we identified, that's same scheme. I don't have data yet for the pressures, but it would be the same scheme where we have possibly we're using a pump, high pressure pump and hoses. But it's something that we could do at a, in a drop of a hat, in a moment's notice. It doesn't require design, any plans, construction. It doesn't take any infrastructure modifications really to be able to perform these connections, as I've noted in the Ramada Drive and the Fortini. Now, the 2 areas that may require some modifications, and we're also, looking at, and we'll be working on and developing, is looking at the well fields. Platts 2, left hand, so upper right hand side of your slide. So we have our Platts wells, river and deep, and on the other side, Paso has a Thunderbird well field. It's quite large. It's 5 large wells, and they have a surface water treatment plant over there as well. But there's opportunity there. We're close approximation to each other, and you're kind of down there along the railroad tracks. We might be able to figure out something there to connect that would be more substantial. So 2,000, 3,000, and it wouldn't require this mobile portable pump either. It would be something where maybe you're turning on a valve and turning on a well and providing that kind of help to our system. Same thing with the Villa Robles Theater Drive area. That's off of this slide. Apologize for that, but to the south of this slide, there's a location where we come pretty close to each other, but it would require us to design something and interconnect there on Theater. The benefit of that Theater spot also is, Paso was describing, they have a fire line. It's dedicated for fire up to a flow of 3,000 gallons a minute. So all of these things are wonderful to be able to identify and help us out in the future, in the here and now. In the here and now, it should help us out. And then into the future, possibly we can even, bolster our resiliency to these sorts of events.
One question I have,
Yes, please.
would it be like either or, like, do you have to choose only one of these sites, or can you, like, in terms of an emergency, can you use multiple sites?
Yes, thank you. So, yep. So you can use multiple sites. So I wanted to also let you guys know that, the board know that these systems, these locations, what is on your right-hand side of the slide, on the right-hand side, is actually supported by the west side system of Paso Robles. And so then what's on the west side of the 101 for us is actually supported by the east side of Paso Robles. So they're two independent systems, storage facilities, distribution systems, wells, they're two independent. Whereas we have that one pressure zone, they're more complicated. They've got lots of pressure zones and they have two different systems that would be supporting these interconnections in the future. And now, for that matter. I want to also note with this slide that, as you know, we are working with consultant and master planning efforts. And so with that being said, we will be, immediately they started to reach out too, and we'll be running these scenarios. We have our water model updated. We'll be running real life scenarios, this scenario, including others, against our system, and we'll be learning. And so then we'll be bringing back, possibly developing those things in the CIP, those areas where we can improve our system or, provide further redundancy in our systems, be bringing those back, possibly in the form of projects, CIP improvement, those sorts of things. So I hope for the most part, that's it. I hope I covered the water system. If you have any questions, please.
Yeah, and if I could just add a couple things really quick. I know what they call Apollo 13, the successful failure. Well, this was the successful tragedy. It tested, in my opinion, our water system in the worst case scenario, and it passed. Do we need improvements? Absolutely. But we had a very worst case scenario with regards to fire flow, and it held up. So that's a good thing. Just for information, this event is not over for the fire department. We're still dealing with it. As a matter of fact, that's where they just went. It flared up again. And so we're putting our unmanned monitors back up on it again. That's been happening quite regularly. General manager came in this morning and said he saw it snowing this morning. And so until we get the actual debris removed, we're going to be contending with this thing. The last thing is well, second to last, we had some engine issues. As some of the board members may know, on our recycling center fire, we had some issues with the water getting into the cab. Not as bad this time, but it got into the compartments and it did some electrical damage, and we're contending with that. So we've got some issues to take care of there. Lastly, I failed to thank the sheriff's department and all of their help that evening. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the chief's name, Chief Paul. Chief Paul was there the majority of the evening. His interaction with me that night helped tremendously with that next morning, because we had an influx of people. We had 150 people on Main Street just watching it that night. They got those folks back as I had fire resources coming in. The next morning, it got even crazier. The amount of people that were flooding down here to see this. And the perimeter that they had established was fantastic. It allowed us to do our work uninterrupted and without worrying about the public getting into dangerous areas. So thank you to the sheriff's department, everybody there that was there on that. Also to the CHP, who helped us out significantly, and all of their officers who came back and helped us with traffic control even days later. So I just wanted to put that out there also. And as Justin said, I think we're available for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for such a great report on such a short notice. Really appreciate it. Justin, I just also want to thank you. I know you were there as soon as the issue started, the problem started, and you stayed up all night. You were active and you came up with great solutions to help the fire department. So thank you so much. Thank you to your crew as well as the general manager. He was available. He was calling everybody, trying to figure things out, and Carrie coming in on on that next day. So it was totally a team effort, and I'm really proud to be part of this team, so I really appreciate it. You do have a great team here, so that's much appreciated and goes to all your leadership. So you guys did an outstanding job. Thank you. Any questions on this report from the board?
No questions of this one.
I'm gonna go to public. Public has any questions? Go ahead.
You said the hazmat cleared at everything about the fire and everything?
Yes.
Because up by the railroad tracks, there's ponding, water ponding over there. and
Yeah,
stuff.
they tested the water
Oh, okay.
and that red is just an actual food grade red dye.
Oh, okay, so
Yep.
that's,
Yeah.
and that's just the smell from the grain.
The fermentation process of the grain is that smell,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yeah, so, and that's unfortunately what's creating some heat within the
Oh.
pile also.
Okay.
So that fermentation, I wouldn't recommend trying to drink it as beer.
And the water running off into the Salinas River, that's all clear.
It's all tested and cleared.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And we did have environmental health out there at the same time. They actually came to our briefing on Saturday night.
Okay. And on Thursday, was it, I know there was like water just spraying like a sprinkler onto the,
Well, that's what we just, that I just mentioned, it's gonna continue.
okay, so.
That pile is very thick. And there's still a lot of hot embers, items, debris down buried under that. And anytime it burns away and gets a little bit of air,
Oh,
it starts to take off again. They're called Blitz Fire, and they are actually, thank you to Camp Roberts Fire Department. They've loaned us 2 of those and they're unmanned monitors and it's kind of like a giant oscillating sprinkler.
yeah,
Yeah.
I saw it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from them? Oh, go ahead, miss.
I'm just curious, probably for SO, on the status of the investigation of how this whole thing began. If there's anything that can be shared publicly about that.
I can kind of share, we had a brief this week, with the investigator, but, essentially, we're at a point, we know the cause. So we have the what, now we're just dealing with the who. There are a lot of videos and a lot of surveillance that has been gathered. There is some information that, they have people of interest. And so they're interviewing those people of interest. At this time, that's about all we can really say on it until they get more information from these people of interest.
Thank you. Joanne, did you have? a question?
Just a comment to, I just wanna make sure that you guys acknowledge the work that Justin and his team did to provide water to the fire. There was a lot of online, in particular in social media, speculation about running out of water, about this being another Pacific Palisades, about not being adequately prepared for a fire of this size. And I just found what they were able to pull off to be enormously impressive. So thanks to the, TCSD obviously for, providing those basic resources, but I truly feel, that the water department's contributions is as an unsung hero in this. Cause I can't imagine what it would feel like as, somebody fighting the fire, to turn on the hose and nothing come out, and that never happened. That just never happened. And for a community our size, and for a fire that complex and that large, I just think a million things could have gone wrong, but a million things went right. And one of them, honestly, was how well our water resources were managed by the people that were in charge of it. So, if you guys have not expressed your gratitude and thanks to Justin, I really feel like he deserves a lot of praise. As a community member, I truly believe that he helped save the town.
Thank you. Thank you for making that comment. Much appreciated.
I'll pass that along to our operators as well.
Please do.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, you guys, again. Appreciate it. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to public comment. members of public may address the board on any items of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, but not on the agenda today. In compliance with the Brown Act, the board cannot discuss or act on items not on the agenda. Are there any board members that, I'm sorry, are there any public members that would like to make a comment at this time? On items that are not on the agenda? Okay, none. All right, we'll go ahead, bring it back to consent agenda. We have several items on the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the board meeting, June 17, 2025. We have the minutes from the special meeting, July 6, 2025. We have the treasurer report for May 2025. And we have item D, authorization to attend CSDA annual conference. Do any of the board members would like to pull or comment on any of these items?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the public. Any public comments on any of these items? Okay, I'll come back to board and I'll, if there are no comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion for our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the consent agenda items A, the minutes of the June 17th regular board meeting. Item B, the special meeting held on July 6th, and the treasurer's report for the period ending May of 2025. And item D, authorization to attend the CSD annual conference.
Great. Do I have a second? Second. All right, roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Tyrone. Aye. And Fardage.
Aye. Great, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our business item, public hearing, resolution number 12-2025, which is the county tax law. General manager?
Actually, Natalie Clock is here.
Oh, sorry, Natalie.
Good
I
evening,
apologize.
that's okay. So we have our yearly adoption of the resolution for these items with the county tax roll. So that I ask that the board of directors open a public hearing, accept testimony on those assessments and charges. And then the board should by a motion adopt the resolution 12-2025, adopting the report on assessments for street lighting, delinquent weed abatement fees, the CFD 2017-1 assessments, and the fire and emergency services measure A, and then authorize those on the collection on the county tax roll. There is one change. We received a payment for one of the weed abatement parcels. It was taken off the list. The total was not updated. So the total for weed abatement will be $11,402.40 that will be collected on the taxes.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board on this item? Okay, I'm gonna, since it's a public hearing, I'm gonna open this up to public, for a public hearing. Any questions or comments on this item? Please step to the podium and introduce yourself.
I'm Scott Newton. I have a parcel at 301 North Main, which is immediately south of the sheriff project. And that's land, I always call in every year to the fire department, it's grazing land. And this year when I went out there, I went ahead and mowed it as well, because usually what happens, the fire department requests that we do mow it next to that property line, the sheriff's, to clear out like a 8 or 10 foot buffer. So we do that every year. But when I met my contractor out there to mow it, it hadn't been mowed. And I went ahead and told him to mow the whole thing because the sheriff's department had taken down so much of the fence, we couldn't use it for grazing as part of their project. So I'm not sure if it's a misaddress or what it is, but if you could look into it, I included in here my invoice from the CSD. I included a copy of my invoice from my contractor, and he does put on here Templeton mowing, but we only have one property in Templeton. And then I put a picture of the property as well. He sends me a picture as soon as he's done mowing it every time, because I have multiple properties that he mows. But if you could look into that, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm not sure where the miscommunication's at, but I know that here it refers to it as 0 North Main. A lot of paperwork says 301 North Main. Yes. So, I mean,
we'll have to look into it.
yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we, just, this item is on the agenda tonight, so in order to collect for this one parcel, and I'm sure we get the APN number, so we can refer to can you just give me the last three digits?
Yeah, 033.
033. So that's the parcel that has a weed abatement amount of $3,443.48.
Okay. So did we pull
Yeah,
that item?
From my recollection, our contractor went out there and it was significantly high.
Yeah, and he did mow it, my guy actually mowed it. My contractor.
We know when the dates of the, because the district contractor would have done this in mid-June.
So yeah, so my invoice,
June 7th, they were there June 7th, 8th, and 10th.
so my invoice date is June 11th,
June 11th.
but, you know, he generally sends it out a little bit later. But he actually called me from it because he wanted to let me know the fence was down, and that's when I went out and looked at it. And it hadn't been mowed at that time, so I'm not,
We do have before and after pictures.
Yeah.
From our contractor.
Right.
So,
and so I mean, at the very least, I'd ask is, in your invoice amount, is there a penalty associated with that too? Cause I know some areas do like a 300%.
Oh, it's not,
There's
it's,
an admin fee of 300, like 300.
They're just minor compared to.
323.48, yeah. So $3,120 was the fee from a person doing the weed abatement.
Right, okay. So I'm not sure how we both could have mowed it within the same date range. You know, I don't know what happened. I can just say when I was there, it wasn't mowed. You know, my contractor was there and then, you know, why he didn't mow it in my presence, I left and he mowed it. But the contractor doing the sheriff's build actually came over as well when we were doing it.
yeah, I know on that particular, parcel, I specifically saw the district contractor out there mowing.
Okay.
Yeah, and he actually blew a tire on a pipe out there. And so I know he was out there actually mowing it.
Interesting.
I specifically
Yeah.
saw him and his contractor out there.
Cause when I was out, the only part that'd been touched that I saw was near the property line between us and the sheriff. But nothing else?
Yeah, he did have to do it in segments because he blew his tire on his tractor.
Okay.
So he had to go get the get the tire repaired and then come back and actually.
And I'm wondering when he came back, 'cause that's when my
The
guy
next
completed
day.
it.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you could just look into it, you know, I'm not
Yeah.
let me
trying to
just,
have a debate or anything.
yeah, let's just go over just some of the logistics of the process tonight, because we owe the county an assessment to go on the tax roll, and if, I'm gonna ask that you, at a minimum, take action on any parcels that are not subject to, comment. In this item, you'll have some choices, you could remove it, to do this further investigation, but will likely be too late to add it back in. Because, by August, your next meeting, we'll have missed the
No,
deadline to get it,
it's next week.
to get it on the property tax roll. So, you're free to pull this item and cause the investigation, but you won't be able to collect it on the property taxes this next year.
What's your deadline for submitting to the
The
county
22nd.
of this month?
We leave it on and then you do an investigation, look into it, and you realize, you know, you see, okay, there, you know, needs to be changed, then can you take it,
Yes.
take it out on your own without
Just-
coming back?
What's difficult is when, on the invoice, it says if you have a question about it, to come here tonight on July 15th. But within the same invoice, it says, this is gonna, if not paid in full by the 15th, by 5 PM, it's gonna be turned over. So you don't really have time in there to contest it.
Yeah, we have a tight turnover from from when I get the
You know what I mean?
invoices, yeah.
So you have to contest it before 5 PM, but the meeting's after.
Can I know, sure, we're maybe, in the weeds here a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to come up with some options for you. Would it be possible to take payment from you tonight and just hold that, take it off the tax roll, resolve the matters, not putting it on the tax roll? And then, that would extend this sort of, this deadline. In other words, we
If
wouldn't
I
be
can
up
bring a
against.
payment in tomorrow.
Yes, Yeah, if that's possible.
possible.
Then we could, you follow what I'm kind of thinking, that at least then we don't have to worry about the tax roll. If we collect it, that'll give us more time to resolve any disputes with our contractor or your contractor, because it sounds like there's a little bit of, well, we're not getting the full story from somebody.
Yeah. So, okay, that'd be.
Okay, so,
great.
let me can I maybe, I don't know if there are any other comments on this item, but
I could, okay, any more comments on this item? Should
I
close
just
it?
have a question. Is the fire, is this gonna affect our tax rolls or anything, or, any type of, I would think that would increase, the expenses at the,
are you speaking of, does the Templeton Feeding Green fire?
yeah.
Well, it's gonna affect our budget, yes, but it doesn't actually affect what the Measure A parcel tax, that can only go up by 2% a year at the
Okay.
most. And so that's what's included in this item that the board will hopefully be taking action on shortly, is the Measure A parcel tax will be assessed on every parcel, and it's 2% more than it was last year.
Okay, I'll go ahead, close the public.
Sure.
Okay, I'll go ahead, close the public. Sounds good. Thank you, Scott, appreciate it.
So,
I'll close the public hearing, come back, General Manager.
Yeah, sorry, my recommendation is that you would approve the resolution as presented with the attachments as presented, provided however, if the payment for the parcel that's in question is received prior to our deadline to submit this to the county, we would remove that. Obviously, we're not interested in double collecting it. If we can collect payment, receipt that payment, that'll allow us to resolve this outstanding issue. If our contract is at fault or our records are incomplete, then we could just refund the funds back to the party. That's what I would suggest,
Okay.
resolution before tonight, rather than hold off on.
Okay, yeah, sounds like a fair compromise. Board members, are you guys on board with that?
Yes.
All right, then if that's the case, I'll go ahead, entertain a motion for that item.
So I'll make a motion that the board approve resolution number 12-2025, a resolution adopting the report on assessments for streetlights delinquent weed abatement fees and CFD 2017-1 assessments and fire and emergency services special tax levy, Measure A, and authorizing their collection on the county tax roll, with the exception of the individual that spoke.
We'll just keep it and then they'll figure that.
Yeah, I think the motion should include language that says if that payment's received prior.
If the disputed public comment payment is received prior to the deadline that the district needs to submit the tax rolls to the county.
We would amend the.
You'll amend the
exhibit
tax
to
roll.
Reflect that payment.
To reflect that payment.
Perfect.
Do we need to say anything about the 11,402?
No, because the amounts listed per parcel are correct, it's just that the total is.
Yeah, just the total.
So it's just an arithmetic thing, but it doesn't affect the actual assessment amounts per parcel.
Okay, sounds good. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all right, roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Tyrone. Aye. And Fredonish.
No. All right, motion passes 5-0. Okay, next item is Central District Risk Management Authority, SDRMA, Board of Directors election. So we'll review and we could select up to 4 candidates for the SDRMA Board of Directors seats and authorize staff to submit the electronic votes. Bring it to board for any questions, comments?
Any questions?
No questions, okay? No questions, okay, I'll take it, I'll take it to public for any questions or comments on this item. No, nobody online, just want to make sure, nobody wanted to say anything, okay, all right, I'll bring it back to board, okay, comments. I had a hard time on this one.
Yeah, so we have 5 candidates and only 4 seats that are available.
So we need to.
And I've read through all of the candidates' applications, and they're answering of all the questions. And my preference is to eliminate Thomas Wright.
and go with the remaining four candidates. So I don't know if anybody feels any differently. And Mike primarily did that based on some of the answers to the questions. I don't think we're really getting to what the question was talking about. It was more about a little not enough substance for me.
So, you are proposing to appoint,
The other four.
Mike Schaefer, Robert Housley, Stephen Rutgers, and Virginia Chang Yearly.
Yes. Those would be my four choices.
I don't have any issue with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Agree with that?
Yeah, I'm good. I think there should be something done about these. We have to appoint somebody that they need to do a little bit more writing or selling themselves.
They should go to the meetings.
Oh, I think, yeah, I think some of them were, you know, address the questions well. I thought, you know, obviously Virginia was really strong and Robert's
Yes.
really strong.
Very good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have a problem.
Okay, well, I'll make that, I guess all that would be your motion, and then I'll have a, I guess. I have a
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
I,
Peterson,
Yes.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Tyrone. Aye. And Bogdanish.
Aye. Aye, motion passes 5-0. Okay, general manager's report.
Just a couple of additional items I wanted to call your attention to. We did have, we've had a couple of water leaks over the last couple of days, one of which, you might have noticed. Some of you might have noticed for sure on Lincoln, halfway up the road. We had a leak that got bigger over the weekend and was, repaired yesterday, but it became a pretty lengthy repair. And that cleanup of that site continued into today. So that's what you might have witnessed going on the right-hand side, going up Lincoln. They finished the repair about 11 PM last night and then came back. Well, the plan was to come back today to finish the cleanup, and I'm not sure if that actually happened, but if it hasn't, it will shortly. And then I'll be off on vacation Friday of this week and all of next week, but plan to return on the 28th.
Sounds good. Any questions for general manager? I have a question. On an email that you sent out, you mentioned that you had sent notices for almost 250 water units, correct?
Well, you authorized the release of 249. We sent notices to I believe it was 11 property owners that totaled something less than 249, but we didn't have enough extra to make the 12th property owner whole, so. Yeah.
219.
And, yeah, and of that,
30.
one property owner has claimed 30, although they've yet to enter into an agreement or make the payment. That deadline is coming on the 24th. So we will know after the 24th how many units remain. We've also done an advance notification to all the rest of the parcels on the wait list to let them know that they may receive a water unit, and X number of 249 units have been released. So get kind of prepared to make a decision if they even see the notice.
Okay, so was this 30 unit, the person who accepted it was like the last person for release, and then there was, I remember they wanted 80 originally, and I think we had 50, and then, so they just got the other 30 units. So basically the rest, nobody else from the
Correct.
lot. And then, so you have not sent out the 30-day notification for the remaining units?
No.
then? Okay.
No, it won't, we wanted to get the advance notification out. Because it just so happened that these property owners were notified last year that water units were being released.
Okay.
But nobody further had.
Okay,
So we sent out an advance notification and.
that's 10 days.
No, it's not a binding period, it's just telling them that a formal notice may be coming.
So when would the next batch go?
Probably about the 1st of August.
first. And I'm just trying to understand the whole systems and why are we waiting until 1st of August?
So they could receive this advance notification. We had to
Oh,
update
It
the,
just went out, I believe it
Okay.
went out yesterday, so just to give people time
Oh,
to get it and
okay.
then kind of start thinking about if they are gonna want it, so before
Okay.
they get that offer, not to get the offer immediately after getting the.
Okay, alright, sounds good.
and then we know how many units we have to wait until the deadline passes, because we don't know if we have 219 or 249 units.
Sounds
Don't really don't, through the last 4 years, it's occurred on a number of occasions that people will say, yes, we'll accept units, but that they ultimately don't take them.
Yeah, okay, wow, okay. That's a fair number of properties you guys probably went through with this last notification. It's amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for doing that. I know it's a lot of paperwork. Things to keep track of, so that's nice, thank you. All right, committee reports, any questions on TAG? Okay, public, any questions on TAG? I'm back, activity update reports, we have engineering, anything on engineering? Public, any questions? Finance? Both? Public, finance? Okay. Parks, recreation and solid waste, any questions on that?
The county and the park, do we still have outstanding issues with the county regarding the Evers Park?
You say with the county, we've not formally resubmitted, but they're working with us on some of the issues that were outstanding in terms of confirming permits from some of the prior improvements and some of those items, or we are making headway, and our design engineers or design team is making some adjustments to the subs to meet some of the county's requirements in terms of having local soils engineers, local folks who can do the construction inspection during construction.
So do we have an estimated timeframe as when we expect to get their approval? So we can move forward?
I mean, I'd like to say it was,
Ballpark?
yes, we should be able to resubmit fairly soon. We're down to a fairly,
2030.
yes,
In my
yes.
lifetime.
But we're down to a fairly small number of outstanding issues, but they're still outstanding.
It sounds by reading the report that, I mean, it's still all really up in the air. I mean, there was in the report that information that we provided was wrong about the storage
Well,
capacity.
her report here recently said that the basic concerns that need to be
Yeah.
mitigated.
Yeah,
So we don't need to worry
the
about that.
calculations came back.
Yeah, we don't.
So the county requested that we submit a confirmation of how many cubic yards of storage we have, and so we had the design engineer team survey that, and calculate it, and there's more storage than the county's requiring, so we have that information, and some of this other stuff is just very recent, like, we just got confirmation, I believe, yesterday that the permits for the backstops have been found, and so we're making progress on the most significant of the challenges.
So we haven't had a need to escalate this within the county.
No, I mean, we still have some challenges on our team. It's not just the county.
Well,
It's-
understood, but I mean, it's just frustrating to see that we're really not getting to where we had expected to be at this point in time. And I know it was on both sides, but, and I thought we resolved it on our end. So I just want to make sure that there's good communication. with the
Yeah,
county and that we're making progress.
I think we're making progress, but it's still slower than it should be. It's.
Any comments from public on the report for parks? Utilities, any questions on utilities?
No, other than thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Thank you. Public, any questions, comments, or any? And then we have the CHP report, any? Great. Director's report and or comments, any meetings, any comments, anything?
No, I just want to comment on the fire and, you know, as bad of the loss as it is to Templeton. I'm grateful that there was no injuries. That was a huge fire. I live at the top of Lincoln And I watched that fire burn from my patio, and I could hear the crackling of the wood. And I can't imagine being a firefighter in front of that fire. There was a huge blaze, and I looked at that and I thought, we could have been like paradise. And that fire could have easily spread. We could have had firefighters injured. And it took days to put out the fire, and you're still working on that fire. But I just want to say, I feel grateful that there was no injuries. And I think that's phenomenal. And Justin, you know, I think that the way the three of you worked as a team, the fire department, the water, and our general manager, gives me good comfort as a member of this community and as a resident, that there's such a good coordinated effort. And I love hearing about the contingency plans that you're considering with PASL. That's important. So thank you. But that's all I want to say.
Any other comments? Wonderful. Okay, and then for tentative agenda items for public, we have an item on there that we will be discussing safe and sane fireworks and illegal fireworks enforcement. And we'll be discussing that during our September 2nd meeting, so everyone's welcome to come back. We're gonna hopefully try to get a hold of all the stakeholders and have everybody here and basically have a community discussion of where we want to go and what we want to see in our community going forward. All right, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.